Chapter 3685. Among these people was Tianji Haoyue of the Tianji clan. Another person was the peerless genius of the Yinyang race, Yinyang flying catkins. There was also a young man with green skin and sharp fangs. His eyes were filled with murderous intent. This young man had a terrifying background. He was a genius of the Azura race. The Azura race was ranked 11th on the primitive 10,000 races list. It was an extremely terrifying race that was born to fight and kill. Every member of the Azura race was a natural warrior with terrifying combat strength. This genius of the Azura race was at the Quasi-Emperor realm. His combat strength was even more terrifying. Even Tianji Haoyue and Yinyang flying catkins looked at him with grave eyes. There were also a few other young men who were extremely terrifying existences. They were not weaker than Yinyang flying catkins. Everyone, Lu Ming took the initiative to reveal his destination this time. Be careful of any traps. Yinyang flying catkins said. So what if there's a trap? We have so many people. Our strength is enough to crush them. Any tricks will be useless. The genius of the Azura race cultivated the Tao of sealing. His face was ferocious and filled with murderous intent. Why don't we use those dragon men to threaten Lu Ming and the others and make them come to us? Wouldn't that be better? Another young man said. Impossible. Tianji Haoyue shook his head. Lu Ming must know that as long as we capture him, we will be conferred the title of Son of Heaven or Daughter of Heaven. Who would give up such a great reward? He must know what we're thinking. So, if we use the dragon men to threaten Lu Ming but he doesn't listen and stays at that place, then we won't go over? These words made the face of the previous young man sink. Indeed, even if they threatened him, Lu Ming would not come. Would they not go over to capture Lu Ming? That was impossible. Who could resist the temptation of a son of heaven or daughter of heaven? Since they would definitely go over, why would Lu Ming be threatened by them and come? Lu Ming was not stupid. So on the surface, it seems that we have taken down a large number of dragon men, and we have the initiative. In fact, as soon as Lu Ming appears, we will become passive. Because we will definitely not be able to resist capturing him. Tianji Haoyue said. The others nodded. I'm afraid that they will set a trap, and we will suffer heavy losses. Yinyang flying catkins said. You don't have to worry about that. A son of heaven and daughter of heaven. Let me introduce you to my friends. With them, Tianji Haoyue said before turning his gaze towards a certain spot in the void. Suddenly, ripples arose in space there, and then two figures appeared. The man's figure was sturdy and full of strength. The woman had a graceful figure, and was extremely beautiful. And Yinyang flying catkins, Xiaofeng, and the others' expressions changed. Just by sensing their auras, they could tell that one of them was a world turtle, and the other was a space-time spirit mouse. Tianji Haoyue previously, the World Divine Turtle and the Space-Time Spirit Rat Clan helped Lu Ming. If you ask them to help, be careful of harming yourself. Yinyang Haoyue said coldly. Yinyang Haoyue. Someone from my clan helped Lu Ming, because he has a personal relationship with Lu Ming. I don't know any Lu Ming. My clan's ancestor ordered me to redeem myself. We must capture Lu Ming. The burly young man from the World Divine Turtle said. Same for my clan. The woman from the Space-Time Spirit Mouse said concisely. That's right. The World Divine Turtle and the Space-Time Spirit Mouse have a personal relationship with Lu Ming. But it doesn't mean that others will. With them around, no trap will work. Tianji Haoyue said with a smile. Everyone's eyes flashed. Indeed, there was no trap under the eyes of the World Divine Turtle and the Space-Time Spirit Mouse. Then who will Lu Ming belong to after we break the other party's trap? A young man asked. It's simple. Whoever can capture Lu Ming will get him. Xiaofeng said loudly. His eyes swept across the crowd with a fierce look. Everyone's face sank. They were extremely wary of Xiaofeng. All right, we're almost all here. Let's go. Tianji Haoyue said. He waved his hand and a map appeared. After looking at the map, everyone soared into the sky and flew towards the Dragon Burial Slope. After a while, the Dragon Burial Slope was in sight. This terrain is indeed suitable for setting up formations. Tianji Haoyue said. The Tianji clan was not only good at deduction, they were also proficient in observing the heavens and earth. They were even proficient in formations. However, there was still a gap between them and the world divine turtle. This should be the burial ground of the divine dragon clan. Let's be careful. The young man from the world divine turtle looked around and said. Everyone nodded and continued to fly towards the depths of the dragon burial slope. Lu Ming, I see him. There's also the nine-clawed dragon. A few excited voices rang out. In front of them was a huge slope. To be precise, it was a huge dragon tomb. Lu Ming, Ao Yen, Ao Guan, and the others were sitting cross-legged and looking at them indifferently. Are there any formations around? Yin Yang Flying Catkins asked. No, I've observed carefully. There are no traces of formations around. The young man from the world divine turtle said. I've observed with the power of space-time. There are no abnormalities within 1,000,000 miles. The space-time spirit mouse said. No abnormalities. Xiaofeng, Yin Yang Flying Catkins, and the others were a bit stunned. In their view, it was normal for Lu Ming and the others to set up traps around. Now that there were no traps, they were a bit uncertain. There's no mistake, right? Yin Yang Flying Catkins asked. There's no mistake. The young man from the world divine turtle said. At this moment, Lu Ming, Ao Yen, and the others had already stood up. The world divine turtle and the space-time spirit mouse clans. It seems that Dandan and Bubble aren't the only ones entering the dragon clan's mother planet. Lu Ming looked at the young man and woman of the two clans and his eyes moved. He wasn't surprised that the prodigies of the world divine turtle and the space-time spirit mouse clans were here. After all, Dandan and Bubble had helped him to kill the prodigies of the other clans before. Even though the world divine turtle and the space-time spirit mouse clans had a special status in the universe and had a good relationship with the other clans, they had obviously violated the orders of the heavenly palace. It would be unreasonable if they didn't make some compensation. The best way to atone for their sins was to do something good. Since there's no trap then. Yin Yang Flying Catkins's eyes flashed coldly and a black and white divine light burst out and directly rushed towards Lu Ming. Yin Yang Flying Catkins, Lu Ming is mine. Xiaofeng shouted coldly and his body also rushed out. The sky kept exploding. At the same time, a few other terrifying prodigies also attacked together and rushed towards Lu Ming. Since there were no traps, they couldn't help but directly attack, afraid that Lu Ming would be taken down by others. Chapter 3686. When Yin Yang Flying Catkins, Xiaofeng, and the others attacked, the entire dragon burial slope was flooded with divine light. These heavenly geniuses were too strong. Quasi-emperors. When they attacked, Lu Ming's muscles tensed up and his hair stood on end. He felt incomparable danger. Yes, quasi-emperors. Xiaofeng, Yin Yang Flying Catkins, and the others were all quasi-emperors. In the Taishu dynasty, they were on par with the Taishu Sage Emperor, the Barbarian Emperor, and the Holy Old Heavenly King. But in terms of battle power, these heavenly geniuses were many times stronger than the Barbarian Emperor and the others. If they fought at the same level, the Barbarian Emperor, the Holy Old Heavenly King, and the others would only be killed in an instant. Even the Quasi-Emperor Undying Demon King wasn't a match for these people. If Lu Ming, Ao Yen, and the others relied on their own strength, they would be killed in an instant. But this time, Lu Ming and the others didn't think of relying on their own strength to fight. The instant Xiaofeng, Yin Yang Flying Catkins, and the others attacked, Lu Ming also moved. He held the primordial divine dragon horn in his hand and blew it. Woo! An ancient and resounding horn sounded, as if an ancient battlefield had reappeared. Roar! Then a heaven-shaking dragon roar came from the dragon tomb under Lu Ming's feet. The dragon tomb lit up, and a huge dragon soul flew out. This was the dragon soul of a nine-clawed dragon. It was mighty and extraordinary, and its vast dragon might made people's hearts palpitate. Although they didn't know what era this divine dragon was from when it was alive, Lu Ming had used the primordial divine dragon horn to summon an indestructible dragon soul countless years after its death. It was still extremely powerful. A dragon soul wasn't a soul. It was equivalent to a remnant undying will, or a trace of imprint. The dragon soul roared and swept its tail at Yin Yang flying catkins and the others. Boom! A series of violent explosions rang out, and energy overflowed. The attacks of Xiaofeng and the others had actually been blocked. It's a dragon soul. Damn it! Could this be the legendary war horn of the divine dragon race? He's just a human. How could he awaken it? Tianji Haoyue thought of something and roared in shock. Who cares about the horn? Kill! Xiaofeng roared. His body swelled up, and he transformed into a giant Azura. Black God Force rolled off of him, and he wielded a huge saber. With a murderous aura, he charged toward Lu Ming. The Yin Yang flying catkins was shrouded in Yin Yang Qi. The Yin Yang twin sword slashed through the sky towards Lu Ming. Its might was many times stronger than the Yin Yang flying catkins. The other sky prides also unleashed their full strength and charged towards Lu Ming. Behind them, those geniuses with weaker cultivation levels also dashed toward Lu Ming. This time, a full 1,000 terrifying heavens chosen came. Their cultivations were all 7th level divine lord and above. No one could resist the temptation of becoming a heavenly son or heavenly daughter. Woo woo woo, the sound of the primordial divine dragon's horn became urgent. Then the dragon tombs lit up, and the dragon's roar resounded through the world. Roar roar roar. Amidst the dragon roars, several enormous dragon souls appeared and roared toward the sky with overwhelming dragon might. Under Lu Ming's control, these dragon souls charged at the sky prides. These dragon souls were all major characters of the dragon race. When they were alive, they were shockingly powerful. Even though they had died countless years ago, leaving behind only a remnant soul mark, their combat power was still terrifying. Ah! Miserable screams rang out. In just an instant, there were casualties. At least a dozen sky prides were torn apart by the dragon souls. Even the Yin Yang flying catkins, Xiaofeng, and the others were sent flying. Spacetime energy. World formation. The Spacetime Spirit Mouse and World Divine Turtle's sky prides attacked. Countless runes suddenly appeared around Lu Ming and the others. Furthermore, the space around them began to ripple. Powerful spacetime energy began to spread towards them. However, Lu Ming had long since been prepared for this. The dragon tomb they had chosen wasn't a random one. The 9-clawed dragon soul they had summoned was incomparably powerful. Under Lu Ming's control, the 9-clawed dragon soul suddenly retracted. Its dragon claws stepped on the air, and the runes, formations, and spacetime energy all exploded. Regardless of whether it was the formation or the power of time and space, they were all blasted apart by the immense power. Then the 9-clawed dragon soul coiled around Lu Ming, Ao Yan, and the others to protect them. Wu Wu Wu. Lu Ming circulated his god force, blowing the primordial divine dragon's horn. The ancient sound spread in all directions. Dragon souls constantly flew out of the dragon tombs, attacking the various sky prides. Almost all of these dragon souls were 9-clawed dragons, 8-clawed divine dragons, and even the weakest was a 7-clawed divine dragon. Some of them were so strong that they could even suppress Xiaofeng, Yin Yang flying catkins, and the others. Miserable screams rose and fell as more and more sky prides were killed. In just a short while, over 100 sky prides had fallen. As for them, they couldn't even get close to Lu Ming. Furthermore, the number of dragon souls here was increasing, while their numbers were decreasing. Damn it, we fell into his trap. Let's retreat and leave this area. This kid has the primordial divine dragon's horn, and can summon dragon souls. As long as we leave this burial ground, we'll be fine. Many people, including Tianji Haoyue, roared. They planned to retreat first before thinking of a way to deal with Lu Ming. They did their best to retreat. However, could they retreat so easily? Clearly not. The place Lu Ming had chosen was the center of the divine dragon burial ground. There were dragon tombs all around. At this moment, dragon roars could be heard everywhere. Especially several huge dragon tombs. Their roars shook heaven and earth. Several incomparably huge dragon souls appeared. Roar! One of the 9-clawed dragon souls grabbed at Yin Yang flying catkins. This dragon soul's strength had reached a shocking level. Its vast aura made Yin Yang flying catkins cry out in fright. He could sense that this dragon soul had completely surpassed the divine sovereign realm. It was definitely a divine emperor, and not an ordinary divine emperor. It was so strong that he couldn't resist. Roar! A dragon roar rang out as a dragon claw grabbed at Yin Yang flying catkins. Yin Yang flying catkins tried his best to break out, but the surrounding space seemed to have solidified. The dragon claw swiped at him, and Yin Yang flying catkins let out an unwilling cry. His body directly exploded, and his soul was destroyed. Even the nearby sky prides were killed. There were at least 4 of such terrifying dragon souls surrounding the place. The various sky prides were surrounded. Xiaofeng, Tianji Haoyue, and the others had ugly expressions. Spacetime Spirit Mouse, quickly open a wormhole. Let us charge out. Tianji Haoyue roared at the Spacetime Spirit Mouse. I can't open a wormhole. With my strength, I can't do it. The Spacetime Spirit Mouse prodigy shouted. Chapter 3687. Although her cultivation base was higher than Bubbles, her talent wasn't as strong as Bubbles. She couldn't open a wormhole, not even a short-distance wormhole. Damn it! Tianji Haoyue and the others panicked. If they couldn't open a wormhole and leave, they would definitely die under the siege of so many dragon souls. Attack Lu Ming. These dragon souls are all controlled by him. As long as we take him down, all the danger will be resolved. Tianji Haoyue roared. Kill. Xiaofeng roared and charged toward Lu Ming in a frenzy. The other geniuses did the same. Yes, their only chance of survival was Lu Ming. As long as they took down Lu Ming, all the danger would be resolved. All the geniuses charged at Lu Ming. Woo woo woo! The primordial divine dragon horn began to hum rapidly. Divine power poured into Lu Ming's body from the quantum character art, allowing the primordial divine dragon horn to take effect. One by one, the divine dragons charged toward the sky prides of the various races. There were also many souls around Lu Ming. Tianji Haoyue and the others couldn't charge in at all. As for the 4 strongest dragon souls, they were already charging at them. Those 4 dragon souls were too strong. With each move, over a dozen geniuses were killed. In just a short while, half of the geniuses had fallen. There were over 500 of them. This was an incomparably huge loss. These geniuses were all 7th-level divine lords. If they were placed in the various races, they would have become divine emperors. It wouldn't be difficult for them to become even stronger existences. But now a large number of them had fallen. Boom. At this moment, the entire dragon race's mother planet let out a rumble and violently shook. Lu Ming's gaze swept towards the sky. Outside the dragon race's mother planet, an incomparably huge figure appeared. The holy light was even more resplendent than the sun. Heavenly Palace, Lord of Heaven. Stop! The Lord of Heaven shouted. His palm shone and slashed out. It turned into a resplendent sword of light, and slashed at the dragon race's mother planet. Roar! 10,000 dragon seals were activated to resist the sword of light. Rumble! The entire dragon clan's mother planet shook violently. Some mountains even exploded. The dragon burial ground also shook violently. Even Lu Ming's primordial mystical dragon horn paused. The Lord of Heaven has come to save us. Let's work together and kill our way out. All the prodigies roared and rushed in the same direction. Outside the dragon race's mother planet, the Lord of Heaven's attacks were extremely violent, even more terrifying than the last time. Sword of Heaven survey. The Lord of Heaven roared and the universe shook. This time, he returned to the Heavenly Palace and retrieved the treasure of the Heavenly Palace, the Sword of Heaven survey. As soon as he returned, he saw the geniuses of various races being trapped by Lu Ming's soul. He immediately attacked. A holy sword appeared in the hands of the Lord of Heaven. Boom! At this moment, the Lord of Heaven's aura was at its peak. A few wisps of sword chi seeped out and directly cut open the starry sky. A few ferocious cracks appeared in the vast starry sky, spanning an endless distance. In the endless distance, planets were cut in half one after another, and stars exploded one after another. Terrifying, incomparably terrifying. These were just a few wisps of overflowing sword chi, and it was already so terrifying. If the Lord of Heaven used his full strength, he might really be able to cut open an entire galaxy. Legend has it that some of the top powerhouses in the universe could directly destroy an entire galaxy with a full-strength attack. It was not just a rumor. Slash. The Lord of Heaven roared. Holding the Sword of Heaven survey with both hands, a terrifying power condensed, and then turned into an extremely condensed sword chi that slashed towards the Dragon Clan's mother planet. Roar. At this moment, the 10,000 dragon seals boiled. The entire 10,000 dragon seals turned into an incomparably huge divine dragon that coiled around the Dragon Clan's mother planet. This was the complete manifestation of the 10,000 dragon seals. This divine dragon roared, and its dragon claws burst out with golden divine light as it grabbed at the Sword of Heaven survey. Boom. As if the universe had exploded, the two sides were completely annihilated in the middle of the collision. The dazzling divine light made people unable to open their eyes. The Dragon Clan's mother planet shook violently. Many peaks collapsed, and in the sea, endless waves rolled, forming a tsunami. In the end, outside the Dragon Clan's mother planet, the result was decided. The dragon claw formed by the 10,000 dragon seals actually exploded. The sword chi formed by the Sword of Heaven survey also shattered. However, it turned into wisps of sword chi that spread across the surface of the Dragon Clan's mother planet. That collision just now caused some weaknesses to appear in the 10,000 dragon seals. In an instant, many sword chi seeped in and permeated into the Dragon Clan's mother planet. These sword chi were weakened to the extreme by the 10,000 dragon seals, and did not have much power left. However, they were still extremely terrifying. These sword chi bombarded the ground of the Dragon Clan's mother planet, without any target. Boom. Boom. The mountains were penetrated, and huge pits were blasted out on the ground. Many dragon beasts were swept by the sword chi and turned into ashes. Some unlucky Dragonians were swept by the sword chi and died on the spot. The people from the outside world are coming in. Quickly hide. Hide in the ruins. Quickly. At this moment, the entire Dragon Clan's mother planet was in chaos. Countless Dragonians roared in horror, as if doomsday was coming. Many people roared and rushed into the various ruins. Most of these ruins were shrouded in restrictions, and had spatial folding technology to avoid disasters. The Dragon Clan's mother planet was in chaos. At the Dragon Burial Slope, a wisp of sword chi also fell. This sword chi had no target, and it fell directly. When it fell, a large number of dragon souls were directly destroyed. However, a large number of sky prides from various races were also killed by the sword chi, at least dozens of them. In the end, the sword chi fell on the ground and blasted out a huge pit. Lu Ming, Ao Yan, and the others' faces were a little pale. If this sword chi fell on them, only death would await them. Fortunately, their luck was not bad and it did not fall near them. However, this way, the dragon souls in that direction were destroyed by the sword chi, including a terrifying dragon soul. This way, a flaw appeared in the encirclement. Charge out. How could Tianji Haoyue and the others miss such an opportunity? They pushed their speed to the limit and rushed out with all their might. The sky pride of the space-time spirit mouse was the fastest. In a flash, he rushed out of the encirclement. Next was Tianji Haoyue, Xiaofeng, and the others. They also rushed out of the encirclement. The other sky prides rushed out with all their might. Wu 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 Lu Ming continued to blow the primordial divine dragon horn, controlling the remaining dragon souls to chase after the various sky prides. In the end, after a few dozen sky prides were left, the remaining sky prides all left the Dragon Burial Slope. What a pity! Lu Ming sighed in his heart. Originally, he wanted to use this opportunity to kill all the sky prides from various races in one fell swoop. Unfortunately, because the Lord of Heaven suddenly made a move, a flaw appeared in his plan, and these people escaped. Huff Huff Tianji Haoyue and the others left the Dragon Burial Slope, and they finally breathed a sigh of relief. However, they still had lingering fears. Chapter 3688. That damned Lu Ming. Tianji Haoyue roared in his heart, his face incomparably sinister. This time, he had lost a lot of face. The Tianji race was known for their flawless plan, but this time, he had miscalculated. Even he himself had almost been completely wiped out. This was a great humiliation to him. He already bore a deep grudge against Lu Ming. Dragon race, Lu Ming, I will return this enmity tenfold. Tianji Haoyue roared in his heart, but then he thought, The Lord of Heaven is about to make a move. This Lu Ming is dead for sure. I probably won't have a chance to take revenge. What a pity. People in the dragon race's mother planet, listen up. All of you, withdraw from the dragon race's mother planet. If you don't, I won't be able to take care of you when I make a move. The Lord of Heaven's voice came from beyond the sky. Go, let's leave quickly. Go. The expressions of the various races' geniuses changed greatly. They couldn't care less about the opportunities here and flew towards the sky. The Lord of Heaven was clearly going all out. The Lord of Heaven had broken the 10,000 dragon seals. Even if a wisp of energy seeped into the dragon race's mother planet, it was incomparably terrifying. Just like just now, it was just a wisp of sword energy, but no one could block it. If they were unlucky and were hit by the sword energy, only death would await them. None of the various races' geniuses dared to stay, and they all flew into the sky. The 10,000 dragon seals wouldn't stop them from flying out of the dragon race's mother planet. These people flew out of the range of the 10,000 dragon seals and returned to the starry sky. In an instant, almost all the various races' geniuses had left the dragon race's mother planet. Of course, this didn't rule out the possibility of some unwilling ones hiding in some ruins on the dragon race's mother planet. The Lord of Heaven couldn't be bothered with this. Is the Lord of Heaven going all out? Lu Ming looked at the sky with a solemn expression. He didn't put away the ancient divine power horn, and continued to control the dragon soul. When the Lord of Heaven attacked the 10,000 dragon seals, if the energy seeped in like before, he could control the dragon soul to block it. It was better than them defending themselves, even though they weren't very confident. After the prodigies of the various clans left, the Lord of Heaven looked at Lu Ming and the others. Do you really think you can stop me with just 10,000 dragon seals? How naive. The Lord of Heaven's cold voice sounded, and the holy light on his body became even more dazzling. The sword of sky survey in his hand emitted a terrifying aura, as if it was going to slaughter the world. The sword of sky survey had the power to survey the heavens, and could slay anyone in the world. It was a precious treasure of the heavenly palace. The cultivation of the Lord of Heaven was fully unleashed. Endless destructive power poured into the sword of Heaven sentinel. Today, I will break these 10,000 dragon seals. The Lord of Heaven shouted coldly, and he became one with the sword. His body and the sword of sky survey seemed to become one, turning into a dazzling sword light that stabbed towards the dragon race's mother planet. This time, it wasn't just a sword light like the previous time. Instead, the Lord of Heaven and the sword of sky survey had become one, and the power of the attack had reached a terrifying level. The 10,000 dragon seals turned into an incomparably huge divine dragon. It let out a long roar, and then directly pounced towards the Lord of Heaven. Boom! The two sides collided once again. Crash! With the Lord of Heaven as the center, the void within 100 million miles was directly annihilated, turning into nothingness. Nothing was left. The prodigies and the older generation experts of the various clans had already evacuated this part of the starry sky, not daring to stay at all. Endless destructive power swept across the starry sky, and wherever it passed, nothing was left. Even the huge star that accompanied the dragon race's mother planet trembled, and its flames dimmed, almost extinguishing like a candle flame. Boom, boom, boom. Outside the sky, there were continuous explosions, and airwaves swept across. Looking up from the dragon race's mother planet, the sky was dazzling and extremely spectacular. Roar. Then, there were dragon roars, and Lu Ming saw that the divine dragon formed by the 10,000 dragon seals actually trembled, and was forcibly cut in two by the sword light. Of course, this divine dragon being cut in two didn't mean that the 10,000 dragon seals were broken. That divine dragon was just the manifestation of the 10,000 dragon seals' counterattack. The divine dragon being broken only meant that the counterattack of the 10,000 dragon seals was broken. Boom. Then, the sword light didn't stop and continued to slash downwards. However, a layer of light shield appeared around the dragon race's mother planet. This layer of light shield surrounded the dragon race's mother planet in the middle, and on the surface of the light shield, there were countless divine dragon figures moving around. This was the true appearance of the 10,000 dragon seals. It was just that they usually didn't show it. The sword light heavily slashed on the light shield, and a shocking explosion erupted. The dragon race's mother planet shook even more violently, and terrifying energy seeped into the dragon race's mother planet, scattering on the ground. On the dragon race's mother planet, the ground, mountains, and seas were constantly exploding, and countless life forms died. There were also several energy blasts that landed near the dragon burial slope, and several dragon tombs exploded. Fortunately, none of the energy blasts landed on Lu Ming and the others. Their luck wasn't bad. The 10,000 dragon seals were constantly vibrating. Above them, countless divine dragons were roaring and glowing. The sky patrolling sword surveys the world, killing everything. Break. The Lord of Heaven's voice shook the universe's starry sky, and holy light extinguished the starry sky, turning it into nothingness. Crack. A sound was heard, as if porcelain had been shattered. A crack was forcibly torn on the 10,000 dragon seals. Not good. Lu Ming, Ao Yan, and the others' expressions changed. Previously, the winged race's experts and the Wu people's experts had wanted to tear open a crack on the 10,000 dragon seals, and then kill Lu Ming. But with their strength, they weren't able to do that. In the end, they had been injured by the 10,000 dragon seals and had retreated. But now, the Lord of Heaven's sky patrolling sword had forcibly torn apart the 10,000 dragon seals. Even 10,000 dragon seals can't stop me. The Lord of Heaven roared. The holy light on his body condensed into two large hands, and he clawed at the crack on the 10,000 dragon seals, preventing the 10,000 dragon seals from merging. Kid, if I want to take down someone, no matter where they are, they won't be able to escape. There's no place for you in the universe. The Lord of Heaven's voice spread throughout the starry sky. Then, a holy light passed through the crack and seeped into the dragon race's mother planet. It turned into a hand and grabbed at Lu Ming. The hand covered the sky and the sun, enveloping the entire dragon burial slope. This is troublesome. Lu Ming whispered. It's more than troublesome. Kid, you're dead. Guemo shouted. Lu Ming. Facing this situation, Lu Ming wouldn't give up. He blew the primordial divine dragon horn, and one soul after another roared and rushed towards the hand. However, this was the Lord of Heaven's attack, and it wasn't weakened by the 10,000 dragon seals. How terrifying was its power! These dragon souls couldn't block it at all. As the huge hand pressed down, the dragon souls shattered one after another like fireworks. In an instant, all the dragon souls were annihilated. The hand continued to press down. Sigh. Lu Ming put down the primordial divine dragon horn, and let out a long sigh. The gap between him and the Lord of Heaven was too big. Even if he wanted to go against the heavens, he couldn't do so. But at this moment, Lu Ming's eyes suddenly widened in shock. Chapter 3689. It wasn't just Lu Ming. Ao Yan, Ao Guan, Ao Cheng, and the others all looked at the sky in shock. In the sky, a divine dragon suddenly appeared in front of the huge palm. This divine dragon was just a 5-clawed divine dragon. It didn't look any different from an ordinary 5-clawed divine dragon. However, it gave off an incomparably majestic and unfathomable feeling. Roar. A heaven-shaking dragon roar resounded throughout the entire dragon clan's home planet. A dragon claw stretched out, rapidly expanding, and collided with the Lord of Heaven's palm. With a loud boom, the palm formed by the Lord of Heaven was crushed by the dragon claw. It turned into energy and disappeared. It was blocked. Lu Ming, Ao Yan, and the others were all dumbfounded. That was an attack from the Lord of Heaven. Although it wasn't his full strength, it was still terrifying enough. This 5-clawed divine dragon that suddenly appeared actually blocked that attack. The key was that this 5-clawed divine dragon looked extremely lifelike. It wasn't an attack condensed from the 10,000 dragon seals. It had its own spirituality. It was like a living being. The divine dragon clan actually had such a powerful existence. In the distant starry sky, the experts of various races were gathered. There were the older generation, and there were also the younger generation. Images were floating in the air, showing Lu Ming and the others, as well as the scene of their previous confrontation. That was because there were many geniuses who had set up monitoring formations all over the Dragon Clan's home planet. There were also some people who had left their illusory divine jades on the Dragon Clan's home planet to monitor it. So they could also see the situation on the Dragon Clan's home planet. A 5-clawed divine dragon is so powerful? What's going on? There's still such a powerful remnant of the divine dragon clan alive? Everyone was discussing all kinds of doubts and guesses. At this time, the Heavenly Palace's Lord of Heaven stared at the 5-clawed divine dragon. His pupils shrank, and he said coldly, "I was wondering who it was. So it's the world destruction black dragon Ao Qian. You're really lucky to still have a wisp of your soul left behind." "What is Senior Ao Qian?" When Ao Yen heard this, she cried out in alarm. "No way Senior Ao Qian is still alive. Didn't he die in battle back then?" Ao Guan and Ao Cheng also cried out in surprise. However, soon after, their eyes erupted with a fiery radiance. That was the radiance of worship. "Everyone, is this Senior Ao Qian a big shot of your dragon clan?" Lu Ming transmitted his voice to Ao Yen, Ao Guan and the others. "He's not just a big shot. Ao Qian is a legend of the dragon clan. He came from an ordinary background. He was only a 5-clawed black dragon. But as a 5-clawed black dragon, he rose against the heavens and defeated countless geniuses of the dragon clan. Even the 9-clawed dragon lost to him. After that, he became the strongest cultivator of the dragon clan," Ao Yen said. "Furthermore, Senior Ao Qian came from a small world," Ao Guan added. Although they were all 9-clawed dragons, which was the embodiment of the dragon clan's bloodline talent, they were all dragons. However, when they talked about Ao Qian, their eyes were full of worship and passion. A 5-clawed divine dragon from a small world actually became the #1 expert of the dragon race. Lu Ming was also amazed. The 5-clawed divine dragon had the lowest talent in the divine dragon clan. Ao Qian, on the other hand, came from a small world, but in the end he became the #1 expert of the endless dragon clan. This was completely an epic. This was an invincible figure, a peerless hero, an overlord of the universe. However, according to the Lord of Heaven, Ao Qian seemed to only have a wisp of his soul left. Before we were sealed back then, it was said that Senior Ao Qian had already died in battle. I didn't expect him to still be alive," Ao Yen said, her eyes bursting with hope. She was the princess of the dragon clan, and shouldered the hope of the dragon clan's rise. However, how old was she and how high was her cultivation base? This pressure was too great. Now that she knew that the #1 expert of the dragon clan was still alive, she breathed a sigh of relief and felt that the pressure had lessened by a lot. "Yale, get out of the dragon clan's mother planet." In the sky, Ao Qian spoke. His voice was deep and full of dominance. Yale was the name of the Lord of Heaven. He directly asked the Lord of Heaven to get out. "Ao Qian, you're just a wisp of your soul. If you were at your peak, I would still be a little afraid. A wisp of your soul still dares to come out. Today, I'll completely turn you into ashes." The Yale Lord of Heaven roared, and holy light burst forth. However, after the delay just now, the power of the 10,000 dragon seals became stronger and stronger. It produced a counterattack, and the Yale Lord of Heaven was forced to retreat. The gaps in the 10,000 dragon seals that had been opened reformed, and the cracks disappeared. The Yale Lord of Heaven's face was a little gloomy. "All of you attack with me. Today we'll completely destroy Ao Qian's soul, and make the dragon clan history," the Yale Lord of Heaven said coldly. His words were directed in another direction. As soon as his voice fell, a huge figure appeared in the starry sky outside the dragon clan's mother planet. This incomparably huge figure was covered in holy light, and it had 6 pairs of wings on its back. It was the 12-winged angel that had appeared before. After the 12-winged angel appeared, another huge figure appeared in another direction. This figure was different from the 12-winged angel. It was covered in a blood-red fog, and it looked incomparably evil. There was also a pair of wings on its back. This pair of wings was like a bat's, but the edges of the wings were golden. Its aura was incomparably terrifying, and it wasn't any weaker than the 12-winged angel. At the same time, a black fog appeared that blocked the sun's rays. This black fog constantly twisted, turning into a human form, and then into a beast form. The angels, blood race, and soul race have all come? Very good. Ao Qian said coldly, his eyes filled with cold killing intent. I'll break the 10,000 dragon seals. After I break them, you guys hold the 10,000 dragon seals. Don't let them heal. Yale said. The experts of the angels, blood race, and soul race nodded. Attack! The Yale Lord of Heaven spoke. Boom, boom, boom. Immediately, the auras of the three experts of the three races erupted. Under this terrifying aura, the starry sky shook violently. Then the three of them attacked. 3 attacks fell on the Dragon Clan's mother planet. These 3 people were incomparably terrifying. Their cultivation realms were probably on the same level as the Lord of Heaven. When the 3 attacked, the 10,000 dragon seals also launched a counterattack. An incomparably huge 9-clawed dragon appeared and collided with the attacks of the 3. However, the attacks of the 3 existences on the same level as the Lord of Heaven were too terrifying. The counterattack of the 10,000 dragon seals was instantly defeated. The Lord of Heaven took the opportunity to become one with his sword and slashed down on the light barrier formed by the 10,000 dragon seals. Rumble! The Dragon Clan's mother planet shook violently once more, and strands of energy seeped in. Chapter 3690. Huge craters appeared on the surface of the dragon race's home planet. The energy rushed towards the dragon burial slope, but was easily blocked by Ao Qian. This time, the Lord of Heaven's full-power attack landed on the barrier. The barrier shook intensely, and then a crack appeared. This crack was even larger than the previous one. Attack! The 12-winged angel and the blood race's expert appeared on the 10,000 dragon seals crack. Among them, the 12-winged angel emitted holy light all over its body. Its 12 wings were incomparably huge, and it reached into the crack and pulled it out with all its might. As for the blood race's expert, he grabbed the other side of the crack and pulled. Rumble! The 10,000 dragon seal shook even more intensely. That crack was forcibly pulled a bit wider, and it was blocked by 2 terrifying existences. Ao Qian, let's see how you block me. Kill! Lord of Heaven Yale bellowed as holy light bloomed. Endless holy light condensed into a figure that looked exactly like Yale. It held a holy light sword and stepped into the crack, arriving at the mother planet of the Dragon Clan. The Yale Lord of Heaven didn't need to go all out against the 10,000 dragon seal. This divine avatar was extremely terrifying. As soon as he entered, a terrifying aura filled the air. Lu Ming, Ao Yan, and the others felt like they were facing a boundless universe. It was so terrifying that it made them despair. This was an existence that the Lord of Heaven couldn't even imagine. Compared to him, Lu Ming was like a firefly compared to the moon. The difference was countless times. Fortunately, Ao Qian released an aura that blocked Yale's aura. Otherwise, given Yale's, Ao Yan's, and the rest's cultivation level, they would be crushed to death by this aura. Kill! Yale's avatar wielded a sword of holy light and charged toward Ao Qian. Roar! Ao Qian let out a dragon roar and charged forward. His dragon claws seemed like they could tear apart the universe. They clashed with Yale's sword light. Sword light soared into the sky, but it only flickered a few times before exploding. An incomparably huge dragon claw slashed down, and Yale's divine avatar directly collapsed. How is this possible? You're just a remnant soul. Outside the 10,000 dragon seal, the Yale Lord of Heaven roared in shock. Back then, I killed more than one Lord of Heaven. So what if I'm just a remnant soul? Ao Qian spoke domineeringly. It was just a wisp of remnant soul, yet it still had an invincible spirit. It was hard to imagine what kind of spirit Ao Qian would have had when he was at his peak. You! How dare a remnant soul look down on him? He would definitely destroy Ao Qian. If Ao Qian was at his peak, he would just turn and leave. He wouldn't dare to fight. Just like Ao Qian said, he had killed more than one Lord of Heaven back then. But now, Ao Qian was just a remnant soul. He didn't have much strength left. And he had the Sword of Heaven survey. He was confident he could kill Ao Qian. With that, Yale took a step forward and charged into the crack of the 10,000 dragon seal. In an instant, sword light filled the sky. Holy light covered the sky, turning the world white. Then the dazzling sword light slashed at Ao Qian. Ao Qian roared. His dragon body became millions of miles long as he used a terrifying secret technique. Dazzling divine light blasted at the sword light. He fought with Yale. Boom. Boom. The two exchanged more than 10 moves in the blink of an eye. Yale's true body charged impersonally with the sword of heaven survey. He was extremely powerful. Ao Qian was, after all, just a remnant soul. He wasn't a match for his opponent. He was forced to retreat, completely at a disadvantage. Boom. Finally, Yale's sword slashed at Ao Qian's body. Ao Qian's body exploded, turning into rays of light. Senior. How could this be? Ao Yen, Ao Guan, and the others cried out in disbelief. The number one expert of the dragon race, Ao Qian, was killed as soon as he came out. They couldn't accept this. They had just seen hope, but in the next moment, it was despair. The difference was too great. Haha, Ao Qian, so what if you were invincible back then? In the end, you will still die at my hands. The Lord of Heaven laughed. But halfway through, his laughter came to an abrupt stop. Because the rays of light that Ao Qian had exploded into began to gather again. In the end, they turned into a human form, a middle-aged man. This was Ao Qian's human form. He was wearing battle armor, and his figure was imposing and domineering. Ao Qian, why? Yale shouted. He was very puzzled. Why can't I die? Let me tell you, in the dragon race's mother planet, as long as the mother planet is not destroyed, I will not die. Today, the one who will die is you. Die. Ao Qian shouted. His arms shook, and the entire dragon race's mother planet burst out with rays of light. Endless rays of light gathered toward Ao Qian, and his aura continued to surge. Boom. He punched out, and a dragon-shaped fist energy pounced toward Yale. Its power was incomparably terrifying. Yale slashed out with his sword, and collided with the dragon-shaped sword energy. His body was forced back. Ao Qian, you've merged with the dragon race's mother planet's star will. Damn it. Yale roared. He finally understood why Ao Qian couldn't die. He finally understood why Ao Qian didn't die after being scattered by him. It was because Ao Qian's remnant soul had merged with the dragon race's mother planet's star will. As long as the dragon race's mother planet was not destroyed, Ao Qian would not die. Moreover, Ao Qian could borrow the power of the entire dragon race's mother planet to increase his combat strength. Die. Die. Ao Qian shouted, and his fists kept punching out. Dragon-shaped fist energy constantly blasted out. Yale had to brandish the sword of heaven survey to be able to fight against Ao Qian. Although Ao Qian was just a remnant soul, he could already fight against him with the help of the dragon race's mother planet. Ao Qian, you've merged with the dragon race's mother planet's star will. You'll be trapped in the dragon race's mother planet for the rest of your life. You won't be able to leave. Yale shouted. I'm just a remnant soul. My mission in the future is to protect the dragon race's mother planet. It doesn't matter if I leave or not. You, on the other hand, won't be able to leave today. Ao Qian replied coldly, and his attacks became more and more violent. Yale roared in his heart. He was helpless and frightened. Ao Qian's current combat strength was probably a few % of his peak. If he didn't have the Sword of Heaven survey, he wouldn't be his opponent. But this time he wasn't alone. I'll hold Ao Qian back. You come in and kill Lu Ming and those 9-clawed dragon. Yale's voice sounded. He was talking to the Soul Race expert. The Soul Race expert hadn't made a move, and was guarding outside. Yes. The Soul Race expert responded silently, and then rushed toward the crack. He rushed into the dragon race's mother planet through the crack, and then rushed toward Lu Ming, Ao Yen, and the others. Chapter 3691. This Soul Race expert was in existence on the same level as the Lord of Heaven. He was incomparably terrifying. Not good. Lu Ming and the others' expressions changed. In the end, Ao Qian was just one person. Now that he was entangled, he couldn't save them. Power, power, I want power. Lu Ming roared inside. This feeling of powerlessness was too uncomfortable. He couldn't control his own fate, and could only wait for others to save him. This feeling was truly unbearable. If he had the power to suppress the universe, why would he have to do this? Kiki, An existence that has fused with a taboo energy will die at my hands today. This feeling is wonderful. The soul race expert sneered. It seemed to be a woman's voice, but it was very cold and grating. Do you think you can touch a taboo body? Just as the Spiritus expert's voice fell, another woman's voice rang out. It was cold and arrogant. Then Lu Ming and the others saw a figure appear in front of them. It was a young woman in a dress that fluttered in the wind. She was like an immortal. However, her body was somewhat illusory. It wasn't a corporeal body, but a wisp of her soul. Lu Ming, Ao Yan, and the rest did not know when this lady had appeared. A remnant soul, no, a soul incarnation. A mere soul incarnation dares to block me. Those who block me will die. The soul race expert roared. His body was like smoke as he charged at the woman. However, he didn't see the fear in the Yale Lord of Heaven's eyes. Careful! The Yale Lord of Heaven shouted a warning, but it was already too late. The young woman extended a jade-white hand and pressed it against the air. It seemed slow, but in the next moment, her palm had already struck the soul race expert. The soul race expert's attack directly collapsed. He let out a miserable scream as his body exploded, turning into smoke that wildly retreated. After retreating a great distance, he reformed. However, his aura was several times weaker than before. He had been heavily injured. Flee! Flee! The soul race expert only had one thought in his mind. He was really scared to death. He was a mighty figure of the Spiritus, and his cultivation was not below that of the Lord of Heaven. Furthermore, the Spiritus were extremely special. They were born with soul bodies that were difficult to kill, and their vitality was extremely tenacious. However, the woman's seemingly casual palm strike had seriously injured him. His aura was extremely weak, and he was almost obliterated. Who is this guy? What kind of being is this? How could it be so terrifying? It was clearly just a soul incarnation, but it was so powerful that it was shocking. He madly rushed towards the crack, wanting to rush out of the crack and get as far away as possible. It wasn't just him. Even Yale had an unsightly expression on his face. Instead of continuing to fight with Ao Qian, he retreated at top speed, following the spirit folk expert out of the rift. After rushing out of the crack, Yale breathed a sigh of relief. The 12-winged angel and the blood-breed elite also let go of the 10,000 dragon seal and retreated. Who is it? Who is this person? Why is he so terrifying? The Spiritus powerhouses muttered to themselves with lingering fear in their hearts. Immeasurable heavenly demon, flying phoenix. Yale murmured. However, his voice was trembling. It was difficult to hide his emotions. What flying phoenix? That taboo? The experts of the Soul Clan, the Angel Clan, and the Blood Clan exclaimed in unison. They were extremely shocked. Yale nodded. Isn't this person supposed to be there? Why would she appear on the dragon race's mother planet? However, it's just a soul incarnation. Could it be that she's guarding the taboo? With this person here, we should retreat first. Or perhaps we can get the Heavenly Palace to send more experts. The taboo isn't something we can deal with, the Spiritus expert said. He still had lingering fear in his heart. You want to retreat? Since you're here, don't leave. That peerlessly beautiful woman, Flying Phoenix, seemed to have heard Yale and the others' conversation. She took a step forward, and her figure appeared outside the 10,000 dragon seal. Yale and the others subconsciously retreated. They're actually this scared. Lu Ming, Ao Yan, and the others were all shocked. In the distant starry sky, the various races were also shocked when they saw this scene through the monitoring formation. The Heavenly Palace's Lord of Heaven seemed to be very scared. How was this possible? Who else in the universe could make the Heavenly Palace's Lord of Heaven so scared? Flying Phoenix, your true body isn't here. This is just a soul incarnation. Do you think you can keep us here? If the four of us work together, it's hard to say who can keep who here. Yale shouted. The Heaven Sentinel's sword shone and enveloped him, increasing his courage a bit. The eyes of the angels and blood tribe powerhouses flashed, revealing a hint of interest. Indeed, they had heard of Flying Phoenix's terrifying reputation. However, no matter how strong Flying Phoenix was, she was just a soul incarnation. How strong could she be? If they worked together, they might be able to take down Flying Phoenix. Taking down a soul incarnation of the taboo would be a great merit for them. Only the Spiritas expert was still a bit frightened. That palm just now had scared him out of his wits. Don't worry. A soul incarnation can't store too much energy. The reason why her palm was so powerful just now might be because she used up a lot of energy. There's nothing to be afraid of. Yale's words made the others even braver. Standing at their height, they were naturally very clear about the weakness of a soul incarnation. A soul incarnation was just a soul incarnation. It wasn't a physical body, so it couldn't store too much energy. It would be easily exhausted. If the four of them worked together, they would exhaust their opponent to death. Thinking of this, they became even bolder. Cold killing intent filled the air. Very good. You don't run when facing me, and you even want to deal with me. You have some guts. Just based on this, I can give you a quick death. Flying Phoenix spoke. Although she was petite, she was even more domineering than Ao Qian. As soon as she finished speaking, she attacked. Her palm pressed forward. This palm seemed to cut through the universe. It looked ordinary, but it was incomparably stunning. Attack. At the same time, Yale and the others attacked. Yale slashed out with the Heaven Sentinel sword. Dazzling swordlight collided with Flying Phoenix's palm. Clang. The sound of the collision spread throughout the universe. Sword chi scattered, and Yale rapidly retreated. At the same time, the Angels and the Blood Race's experts attacked Flying Phoenix. But her figure flashed and she dodged. In the next moment, she suddenly appeared in front of the Spiritas expert and pressed her palm down. This palm was different from the previous ones. The surface of her palm was covered in a layer of devilish light. Its power was even more terrifying. Not good. Save me. The Spiritas expert roared in panic. He didn't dare take it head-on. He retreated. But while he was fast, Flying Phoenix was faster. Her palm accurately struck the Spiritas expert. A miserable and despairing scream echoed through the starry sky. The Spiritas expert's body directly collapsed, turning into strands of energy. Then he completely disappeared. Chapter 3692. The Spiritkin expert's miserable scream echoed throughout the starry sky. Even the geniuses and experts of the various races who were far away could clearly hear it. Through the monitoring formation, they could also see some blurry images. Combining the two, they deduced a shocking piece of news. The Spiritas powerhouse was killed. Everyone looked at each other. Their eyes were filled with disbelief and shock. The Spiritkin expert was actually killed. This was an expert on the same level as the Lord of Heaven. At least, their major realms were the same. An expert of this level was already a supreme existence to them. They were unrivaled. They were the pinnacle of the primitive universe, invincible existences. Now such an existence had been killed. Then what realm was the other party? This was beyond everyone's understanding. On the dragon race's mother planet, Lu Ming, Ao Yan, and the others were also dumbfounded. They were deeply shocked. So strong, truly so strong. This was the only thought in Lu Ming's and the others' minds. Killing an incomparably terrifying figure with two palms. The key point was listening to the other party's conversation. That woman called Fei Huang was only a soul avatar, not her main body. This is a true invincible expert. Peerless beauty. Lu Ming sighed. With this kind of strength, she could really dominate the universe. Above the dragon race's mother planet, the angel race, the blood race, and the Lord of Heaven were deeply shocked. A chill rose in their hearts. I don't believe that a soul avatar can be invincible. After all, the Lord of Heaven was not an ordinary person. His mind was resolute. With a roar, his power flowed through the heaven-surveying sword. He and the sword became one, and a resplendent light burst out, slashing toward Fei Huang. World Extermination Judgment, Angel King. The angel race's expert also roared. Holy light illuminated the 9 heavens. A mighty existence seemed to appear on his body. He wore a crown and held a scepter. Then, a terrifying cross-shaped holy light slashed toward Fei Huang. Blood God Art. The blood race's expert flapped his wings, and a sea of blood overflowed. It almost enveloped the entire dragon race's mother planet. Within the sea of blood, countless strange creatures roared, shaking one's soul as they rushed murderously towards Fei Huang. Facing the strongest attacks of the three powerhouses, Fei Huang's expression was extremely calm, even indifferent and faintly disdainful. She stood in the air, her long dress fluttering in the wind. A wisp of demonic light appeared on her body, and her temperament was extremely special. Her hands pushed outwards, and immediately several snow-white jade hands formed. They were incomparably huge, and they covered heaven and earth. Lu Ming raised his head and seemed to see a few jade-like hands between heaven and earth. Several jade-like hands pressed out. The sea of blood collapsed, and the bizarre creatures within it let out miserable shrieks. One by one, they exploded, transforming into dust that dissipated in the air. Following that, the blood-kindred powerhouse also let out a mournful cry, filled with despair. Touch her jade-like hand swept through the sea of blood as easily as crushing dry weeds. The blood tribe powerful being's body exploded like a balloon. His strand of true self origin wrapped in a ball of blood-red light wanted to escape, but it was useless. With a press of her jade hand, everything turned to ashes. The strand of true self origin of the blood-kindred powerhouse also completely disappeared, and he died. Another terrifying powerhouse was killed. This time, it only took one move. Shocking. Just now, Fei Huang had attacked with a total of several jade-like hands. Clearly, there was a difference in power. The jade-like hand that attacked the blood-kindred powerhouse was the strongest, and contained the strongest offensive power. As for the other hand that attacked the angel powerhouse, the Lord of Heaven of the Heavenly Palace's jade-like hand, it was only used to block their attacks. At this moment, the angel powerhouse, the Lord of Heaven of the Heavenly Palace, was truly afraid. His heart was cold, and his eyes were filled with fear. "Let's go." The Lord of Heaven of the Heavenly Palace shouted in fear, and turned to leave. The angel powerhouse also did the same. It was too terrifying. Whether it was the spirit-kin powerhouse or the blood-kindred powerhouse, their strength wasn't any weaker than the angel powerhouse. They were just a bit weaker than the Lord of Heaven. But Fei Huang had killed one of them in one move. It was truly terrifying. If Fei Huang still had the strength to use one more move, they would be finished. The two of them erupted with their fastest speed to escape. Sky Devil Domain. Fei Huang's indifferent voice rang out. An invisible fluctuation spread out, enveloping the vast starry sky. The angel powerhouse and the Lord of Heaven of the Lord of Heaven's extremely fast speed suddenly slowed down. It was as if they were stuck in a quagmire. They were as slow as snails. Not good. The expressions of the Yale Lord of Heaven and the angel powerhouse wildly changed. In the next moment, Fei Huang's figure appeared in front of the angel powerhouse. No, the angel powerhouse roared in fear. His 12 wings emitted a dazzling light, and transformed into 12 sharp blades that wildly slashed at Fei Huang. Die. Fei Huang spoke. Her voice was indifferent, as if she was passing judgment. Her body emitted a devilish light, and the light on her palm became even denser. She slapped out with her palm. Under this palm, everything was annihilated. The angel powerhouse's attack was instantly annihilated. The same was true for his body. He was even more miserable. He didn't even have the chance to scream before directly disappearing from the great desolate universe. It was as if he had never appeared. Even a trace of his mark had been erased. This ability, Lu Ming's eyes widened. He discovered that the energy Fei Huang had used was very similar to the energy Xian Yanqing had used in the past. Both were able to envelop a space and restrict the enemy's movements. The difference was that Fei Huang's range was too wide. Even the vast starry sky was enveloped. The range was who knew how many times larger than Xian Yanqing's. Damn it! Explode! The Yale Lord of Heaven almost pissed himself in fright. He did his best to activate the Heaven Sentinel Sword. The Heaven Sentinel Sword shook violently, releasing a terrifying sword intent that tore through the starry sky, increasing his speed. However, Fei Huang didn't stop after killing the angel powerhouse. Her figure flickered, and she once more appeared beside the Yale Lord of Heaven. She slammed her palm down. Ah! The Yale Lord of Heaven roared. Sensing the threat of death, he suddenly turned and slashed out with his sword. Clang! Fei Huang's palm collided with the Sky Sentinel sword, and an earth-shattering roar erupted. Terrifying energy surged out in all directions like water waves. Buzz, the Heaven Sentinel sword shook violently. As for the Yale Lord of Heaven, his body shook even more violently. Pft, he coughed up blood. The bones in his sword-wielding hand were directly shattered. He retreated, blood constantly spurting out of his body. Many cracks appeared on the surface of his body. It was like porcelain was about to shatter. Interesting. You can take one of my moves without dying. Let's see how many of them you can take. Fei Huang's indifferent voice rang out. She once more sent out a palm. The Yale Lord of Heaven crazily roared. His body's energy began to blaze. All his power and potential were ignited. Chapter 3693. Yale Lord of Heaven began to go all out, burning everything, including his potential, even his soul, body, origin, blood, and so on. Everything was ignited, causing his power to rise to the extreme. Clang. The two of them exchanged another blow. This time, the result was no different from the last time. Fei Huang remained motionless, while Yale Lord of Heaven retreated. His body kept emitting explosive sounds, his muscles and bones were constantly exploding. His body was tattered, and all his bones had been shattered. He had suffered an unimaginable injury. Even if Yale Lord of Heaven could escape now, it would be a huge loss. His potential would be exhausted, and there would be no possibility for him to improve in the future. His cultivation might even regress. But now he couldn't care about this at all. He just wanted to escape. This time, he had miscalculated. He didn't expect that a wisp of Fei Huang's soul would be on the Dragon Clan's mother planet. If he had known, he would never have come. But it was too late now, because Fei Huang's third attack had already been launched. The jade-like hand with demonic light was huge and boundless, pressing down on Yale Lord of Heaven. Yale Lord of Heaven could only barely erupt with power and activate the Sword of Heaven survey to resist. But this time he could no longer block it. With a bang, his body exploded. Only a wisp of his true self was left. He rushed into the Sword of Heaven survey in a panic and activated the Sword of Heaven survey, wanting to escape. But the jade-like hand swept across the air. How could he escape? No, save me! Yale Lord of Heaven roared crazily, almost scared out of his wits. However, just as Yale Lord of Heaven's voice fell, the starry sky in the distance suddenly cracked open. From the spatial crack, a big hand stretched out. The big hand was crystal clear, completely composed of snow-white holy light, and grabbed at Fei Huang. Its speed seemed slow, but it was actually very fast. It arrived in an instant and bombarded the jade-like hand formed by Fei Huang. Boom! A terrifying explosion sounded. This time, cracks appeared on the jade-like hand formed by Fei Huang, and then it exploded. Fei Huang's face changed slightly and she retreated. Old man! Fei Huang's expression was somewhat ugly. After that large hand repelled Fei Huang, it did not give chase. Instead, it grabbed the heaven surveying sword and quickly pulled it back. Don't even think about leaving. Fei Huang shouted coldly. She stepped into the starry sky, chasing after him. The devilish light on her body grew even brighter as she blasted out another palm strike. It was still a jade-like hand, but this time, the jade-like hand was much dimmer, and contained an astonishing demonic light. Boom! Holy light boiled in this cracked space. Then another big hand reached out and collided with the jade hand formed by Fei Huang. Fei Huang's jade hand exploded again. Fei Huang, you're just a soul clone. You can't stop me. A voice rang out, causing the starry sky to tremble endlessly. In the distant starry sky, many planets were shaking. Just his voice alone was already terrifyingly powerful. At the same time, the huge hand that was carrying Yale, the Lord of Heaven's Sword of Heaven, rapidly retreated. Old man, you can't even take care of yourself, yet you dare to stop me? Be careful of being annihilated. Fei Huang said coldly. You don't need to worry about that. That voice rang out once more. In the next moment, it retreated back into the crack in space and disappeared. This, Lu Ming, Ao Yan, and the others stared blankly at the starry sky. Just now, it was clear that an even stronger existence from the heavenly palace had made a move. An existence even stronger than the Lord of Heaven had saved Yale, the Lord of Heaven, from an unknown distance away. Now everyone was watching. If Yale, the Lord of Heaven, died here, it would be a huge loss to the Heavenly Palace's prestige. However, the other side seemed to have some misgivings. They only left Yale, the Lord of Heaven, and did not continue to attack. Just like that, a world-shaking battle came to an end. Lu Ming, Ao Yan, and the others' hearts swayed as they watched. They were indescribably excited. Although they could be considered pretty good amongst the younger generation, compared to the Lord of Heaven and the others, they were still a far cry. There was no need to even mention Fei Huang, or that mysterious person from the Heavenly Palace. They still had a long way to go. Fei Huang looked at the starry sky, her eyes flickering. She took a step back and returned to the dragon race's home planet. The 10,000 dragon seals didn't stop her at all. Fei Huang came to Ao Qian's side. "Little fellows, come with us." Ao Qian waved his hand. Lu Ming, Ao Yan, and the others felt an energy envelop them. Following that, space rippled, and they were pulled by an invisible energy. Their surroundings rapidly changed, and in the next moment, they arrived in an unfamiliar environment. The surroundings were filled with unimaginably dense mist. Junior greet Senior Ao Qian, Senior Fei Huang. Lu Ming, Ao Yan, and the others came to Fei Huang, Ao Qian, and the others sighed and cupped their fists. "No need to be so polite. You're all pretty good." Ao Yan examined Ao Yan and the others and nodded in satisfaction. "Right now, the dragon race doesn't have much left. You are the hope of the dragon race's revival. Work hard." Ao Qian looked at Ao Yan, Ao Guan and the others. Ao Yan, Ao Guan, and the others immediately became excited. In front of this legendary figure of the dragon race, even if their talent was extraordinary, they were still very excited. Ao Qian was only a 5-clawed divine dragon, and his bloodline was the lowest in the divine dragon race. However, he had grown to become the strongest expert of the divine dragon race with the lowest bloodline. He had trampled many 9-clawed dragons beneath his feet. He could be called a legend. Even if their talent was very high, it would be very difficult for them to reach Ao Qian's level in the future. "We will definitely work hard to revive the dragon race." Ao Yan, Ao Guan, Ao Cheng, and the others nodded, their faces filled with determination. "Good. You can cultivate here during this time. The environment here is quite suitable for you. If you encounter any problems in your cultivation, you can come find me," Ao Qian said. Ao Yan and the others were excited. They cupped their fists and bid farewell. "Lu Ming, you stay behind." Fei Huang, who had been silent all this time, spoke up. Ao Yan and the others glanced at Lu Ming, and then left to find a suitable place to cultivate. After Ao Yan and the others left, only Lu Ming remained to face Ao Qian and Fei Huang. Fei Huang stared at Lu Ming from head to toe. She looked at Lu Ming from head to toe. Even Lu Ming felt embarrassed. Even with his thick skin, he couldn't help blushing. As expected of the man Xiaoqing has taken a fancy to. You're actually able to merge with the taboo energy. Not bad, not bad. Fei Huang carefully examined him, and then nodded in praise. Her eyes were filled with satisfaction. That expression was extremely similar to the expression a mother-in-law would have when looking at her son-in-law. Lu Ming ignored that gaze. His heart jumped and he blurted out, "Senior, you know Nianqing?" Xian Nianqing's methods were extremely similar to Fei Huang's. So when Fei Huang mentioned Xiaoqing, and the man Xiaoqing had taken a fancy to, Lu Ming immediately thought of Xian Nianqing. Chapter 3694. Fei Huang nodded. "I'm her master. Of course I know her. In this life, she's called Xian Nianqing. In her previous life, she was called Tang Qing. Yes, I'm her master in her previous life." Little Qing's master? Lu Ming's eyes lit up. No wonder she looked at him like that. So she was Xian Nianqing's master. So it's Little Qing's master, Lu Ming. "Greetings, Senior." Lu Ming bowed even more respectfully and then asked, "Senior, Xiaoqing left behind a map back then. Her target is the mother planet of the Dragon Clan. I wonder where Xiaoqing is now." "Little Qing is not on the dragon race's mother planet," Fei Huang said. No. Lu Ming was disappointed. At the same time, he was puzzled. If Xian Nianqing was not on the dragon race's mother planet, Why did she leave a map and ask him to come? Could it be that Xian Yinqing had left before he came? Seeming to see Lu Ming's puzzlement, Fei Huang said, Little Qing has never been to the dragon race's mother planet. She's cultivating in another place more suitable for her. It was my idea to ask you to come here. Senior, what do you mean? Lu Ming was even more puzzled. Yes, what I meant was that I had already communicated with Little Qing at that time. I wanted to ask you to come here and try to fuse with the forbidden power. Little Qing also agreed. After all, this is a great opportunity. Moreover, she's very confident in you. Fei Huang said. I see. Lu Ming nodded, suppressing his disappointment. Then how did Senior know in advance that I would succeed? I don't know. Fei Huang shook her head. It's a long story. In fact, when you were with Little Qing in the minor worlds, I already noticed you. At the same time, I calculated your fate. Your fate is different. I can't calculate it at all. Ordinary people can vaguely see the river of fate and the direction of the future. But I can't see it for you. Calculating the fate of others can see their future. Lu Ming's eyes widened. This method was too inconceivable. In the small dimension, the heavenly Tao of the small dimension gave birth to the law of destiny. However, that was only a special method of attack. It was impossible to pry into someone's fate. Lu Ming could not help but be shocked that Fei Huang could do it in the great wide world. I'm just barely peeking at it. Every living being's future is filled with countless changes. Every step they take, every word they say, will result in a different fate. But you can't see the future at all. People like you are extremely rare. Many times they can create miracles. That's why I guided you to the mother planet of the dragon race. Fei Huang explained. Lu Ming nodded. He finally understood the doubts in his heart. It turned out that Xian Yinqing was not here. He was cultivating in another place. But she knew that there was a taboo power in the dragon clan's mother planet. Fei Huang wanted Lu Ming to give it a try, and Xian Yinqing naturally agreed. That was why he left the map to Lu Ming. The reason why Lu Ming's cultivation had to be above the Divine King realm was that if his cultivation was too low, it would be useless even if he came. He might not even be able to enter the dragon clan's mother planet, and it would be very dangerous for him to face the prodigies of the various races. Senior, can you take me to see Xiaoqing? Lu Ming asked. Not for the time being. Fei Huang said. Now Xiaoqing is cultivating in an extremely secret place. She's at a critical moment and can't be disturbed. Lu Ming sighed in his heart. What a pity. He originally thought that he would be able to see Xian Yinqing on the dragon clan's mother planet, but he didn't expect that he still couldn't see him. After thinking of Xian Yinqing, Lu Ming thought of the mid-autumn moon. The mid-autumn moon might have come to the dragon clan's mother planet. Previously, he heard that Ao Qian had merged with the will of the dragon clan's mother planet. The other party was so powerful, as long as the mid-autumn moon was on the dragon clan's mother planet, he should know about it. Thinking of this, Lu Ming immediately cupped his fists to Ao Qian and said, Senior, Lu Ming wants to ask you about a person. Please speak. Ao Qian smiled. Lu Ming had merged with the forbidden power, and his talent was unbelievable. He was destined to be extraordinary. If he grew up in the future, it would be normal for him to be on par with him or even surpass him. Therefore, he was very polite to Lu Ming. He treated him as someone of the same level. Immediately, Lu Ming took out a jade talisman and injected divine power into it. The portrait of the mid-autumn moon appeared in the air. Ao Qian looked at it and nodded softly, as if he was thinking. Lu Ming watched nervously. I've seen this girl before. After a while, Ao Qian nodded. Lu Ming's eyes lit up and he was overjoyed. Senior, may I know where she is? Lu Ming quickly asked. Not on the dragon race's mother planet. Ao Qian shook his head again. Not on the dragon race's mother planet. Lu Ming was puzzled. If she wasn't on the dragon race's mother planet, how could Ao Qian have seen her? I'm afraid it'll be very difficult for you to see this girl. Then Ao Qian sighed again. Lu Ming's heart tightened. What did he mean by it'll be difficult to see her? Lu Ming became a little anxious and asked, Senior, what do you mean by that? Ao Qian didn't answer Lu Ming's question directly and continued, I'm a remnant soul that has merged with the will of the mother planet. I'm equivalent to the mother planet, and I can feel any place on the mother planet. Especially some of the original branches of the dragon race. I can also clearly feel the transmission channels that lead to the mother planet. Some time ago, the girl you mentioned took a transmission array from a branch of the dragon race, and was supposed to go straight to the mother planet, but she was intercepted halfway. Ao Qian said. Intercepted. Lu Ming was shocked. What did he mean by intercepted? Moreover, the person who intercepted the girl should be a big shot from the illusory heavenly palace. Ao Qian said. What big shot from the illusory heavenly palace? Why would the illusory heavenly palace intercept the mid-autumn moon? Lu Ming was even more shocked. In the chaotic universe, there was more than one heavenly palace, and the illusory heavenly palace was one of them. But why would the big shot from the illusory heavenly palace intercept the mid-autumn moon? Lu Ming, don't worry. Big shots like the heavenly palace usually won't take action against the younger generation. The reason why the other party intercepted the girl is probably because they took a fancy to her talent and wanted to take her into the heavenly palace to train her. The heavenly palace will secretly take in some talented geniuses and train them. This is normal. Ao Qian said. Hearing the other party's words, Lu Ming was slightly relieved, but he was still very nervous. At the same time, Lu Ming was quite depressed. This time he came to the dragon race's mother planet to look for Xian Yanqing and the mid-autumn moon, but in the end he didn't find anyone. Lu Ming took a deep breath and slowly calmed himself down. At least, he knew that Xian Yanqing was very safe and was cultivating in a place. And the mid-autumn moon was very likely to be taken a fancy to by the heavenly palace and secretly trained. Her life was not in danger, and that was enough. As long as she was still alive, he would see her sooner or later. Chapter 3695. After calming down, Lu Ming thought of the taboo power again. Senior, you said that the taboo power is so powerful, but how do I cultivate it? Now that I've fused with the taboo power, the other divine powers are suppressed. It's hard for them to improve. Lu Ming asked, somewhat depressed. He couldn't improve the other divine powers, and he didn't know how to cultivate the taboo power. Fei Huang and Ao Qian looked at each other and smiled. Since you've fused with the taboo power, it's normal that you can't cultivate the other divine powers. The taboo power is the strongest power derived from the great desolate universe. The other divine powers will definitely be suppressed when fusing with the taboo power. Fei Huang said. Then how should I cultivate in the future? Lu Ming asked speechlessly. Don't worry, I guided you here to fuse with the taboo power, so I naturally have a way for you to cultivate. Fei Huang said. Back then, she also fused with the taboo power. Ao Qian smiled, very envious. She also fused with the taboo power. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. Fei Huang had also fused with the taboo power, and her cultivation had reached an unfathomable level. Since Fei Huang could definitely cultivate, then he could also cultivate. Lu Ming looked at Fei Huang with shining eyes. Now if you want to cultivate, there are only two ways. Sure enough, Fei Huang began to explain. The first way is to abandon the other divine powers and focus on cultivating the taboo power, crippling the other divine powers. Fei Huang said. Crippling the other divine powers. Lu Ming's mouth was wide open. This wasn't necessarily a bad idea, but he wasn't willing to accept it. He had painstakingly cultivated for thousands of years to reach his current cultivation level. Moreover, he controlled 11 divine powers and 11 origin secret techniques. He had already cultivated them to such a high level. Abandoning them like this was more painful than cutting his own flesh. Senior, what's the second way? Lu Ming asked anxiously. I know that you're unwilling. The second way is that you don't need to abandon the other divine powers. I'll teach you a secret technique that will allow you to separate the taboo power from the other divine powers. This secret technique is called the Three Corpses technique. It can completely sever the past, present, and future, forming 3 different bodies. Fei Huang introduced. Then Lu Ming was stunned. He was stunned by this secret technique. Cutting apart the past, present, and future to form a different entity. How mysterious was this? There was actually such a secret technique in the world. You cultivate the three-corpse severing art. You sever the past and form a complete body. Then you leave all kinds of bodies in that body. His current body can focus on cultivating forbidden power. That way you won't lose anything. After Fei Huang finished talking, she took out a jade talisman and handed it to Lu Ming. Study the art of severing three corpses first. After you successfully sever it, I will teach you the cultivation method of the taboo power. If there's anything you don't understand, you can ask me, Fei Huang said. Many thanks, Senior. Lu Ming received it and was overjoyed. He bid farewell to Flying Phoenix Ao Qian and found a place to cultivate. This place seemed to be a huge underground space. The area was very large. Lu Ming found a cave by the side and walked in. Then he sat down cross-legged and took out the art of severing three corpses. The more he looked, the more shocked Lu Ming was. It was too mysterious. The art of severing three corpses could sever the past, present, and future, forming three different entities. Furthermore, these three entities were all independent, complete, and had their own thoughts. It was as if one Lu Ming had suddenly become three. There was no difference between the real and the fake. They were all the real Lu Ming. It was just that one was the past, one was the present, and one was the future. As the future developed and experienced different things, they would slowly become different. Each of them cultivated independently and thought independently. Their future potential was limitless. This was simply heaven-defying. There was a huge difference between this and the cloning technique and the incarnation technique. When Lu Ming was in the small Kiliacosm, the primordial realm, he had once cultivated the twin forbidden art and cultivated two bodies. However, although the main body and the second body could cultivate independently, their potential was very limited. When Lu Ming wanted to break through to martial sage, he would have to fuse with his main body and second body to break through. If he didn't fuse with them, it would be hard for him to break through. That meant the potential of that method had already been exhausted. However, the art of severing three corpses was completely different. After cultivating it, each of them would be Lu Ming himself. Their potential wouldn't change at all. They would be the same as Lu Ming's previous self. They would all have limitless potential and would be able to reach extremely high realms in the future. Wonderful, truly wonderful. Once I succeed in cultivating it, the past body I sever will focus on cultivating various kinds of divine energy. As for my current body, it will focus on cultivating forbidden energy. This way, there won't be any conflict between the two. Wonderful. Lu Ming was very excited. He then began to seriously comprehend it. However, the difficulty of comprehending the art of severing three corpses surpassed Lu Ming's expectations. Even after 2 months, Lu Ming still hadn't grasped the slightest clue. Lu Ming could only go ask Fei Huang for guidance. With Fei Huang's guidance, he was barely able to grasp the slightest clue. However, if he wanted to succeed, there was still a huge gap. During this time, the dragon race's home planet finally entered a period of peace. The various races' heavenly geniuses no longer dared to enter the dragon race's home planet. The dragon men on the dragon race's home planet no longer had to worry about anything. They could cultivate as much as they wanted. Some of the dragon race's heavenly geniuses who had been sealed for dozens of stellar years could also cultivate in peace. The dragon race's home planet had entered a period of great development. Lu Ming continued to comprehend the art of severing three corpses. Time passed day by day. Half a year. In the blink of an eye, Lu Ming had spent 6 years comprehending the art of severing three corpses. Along the way, with Fei Huang's guidance, he finally succeeded in comprehending the art of severing three corpses. On this day, Lu Ming sat down cross-legged and began to use the art of severing three corpses. He was about to sever his past body. Fei Huang and Ao Qian were guarding Lu Ming by the side. It was very dangerous to use the art of severing three corpses. Once there was a problem, not only would he fail to cultivate it, but he would also sever himself and die on the spot. Lu Ming carefully responded to the content, and then began to use the art of severing three corpses. 9 days later. Open! Lu Ming shouted. Endless divine light appeared on his body. These divine lights were like sharp blades, constantly slashing his body. These divine lights slashed his body, but there was not the slightest wound on his body. However, slowly his body glowed, as if a figure was about to split from his body. This method was not to split his body and soul into two halves. That was not the case. In fact, his body and soul were still complete and had not been separated. What was severed was his past body. What was already in the past was called the past body. In the blink of an eye, another 3 days passed. The figure on Lu Ming's body became clearer and clearer. Chapter 3696. Another figure appeared on Lu Ming's body. This figure looked exactly the same as Lu Ming. It was as if there were two Lu Ming overlapping each other. At first, the two Lu Mings overlapped very closely. But slowly, the two Lu Mings separated. Time passed day by day. In the blink of an eye, another month had passed. Finally, the two Lu Mings were completely separated. The two identical Lu Mings suddenly opened their eyes and looked at each other. I succeeded. The two Lu Mings had the same thought. Then they smiled at the same time. The two Lu Mings didn't have a hierarchy. They were both Lu Ming. It was just that one was the past, and the other was the present. But now that they had just split, they had experienced the same things. Therefore their thoughts, way of thinking, and subjective consciousness were all the same. Of course, as the two of them experienced different things in the future, some of their thoughts would also change. The two Lu Mings looked at their other selves in amazement. Then the two of them cupped their fists at each other. Not bad, Lu Ming, you succeeded. Fei Huang said with a look of joy on her face. Lu Ming was able to successfully sever his past body in 10 years. This kind of talent was already very good. At the very least, he wasn't any weaker than her. Lu Ming, you've just succeeded. Your present body can now change its appearance and aura, so that others won't be able to recognize you. Fei Huang said. You can do that. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. Of course you can. Your present body has been fused with the taboo power. It has just been severed so it can be shaped at will. If too much time passes, once it's shaped, it will be very difficult to change. Now that you've changed your aura, even your life essence has changed. Even if the people closest to you stand in front of you, they won't be able to recognize you. Even experts on the level of the Lord of Heaven won't be able to recognize you. Moreover, your fate will be fixed on your past body. Even experts skilled in divination won't be able to divine your fate. Your present body will become a completely different person. Fei Huang explained. Lu Ming was dumbfounded. It was simply miraculous that he could do this. Even the origin of life could be changed. Even the birth horoscopes could be changed. Even the almighty experts couldn't divine them. This was equivalent to becoming a completely different person. In that case, wouldn't Lu Ming's current body be able to leave the mother planet of the dragons and travel the vast universe? He could even enter the heavenly palace and search for the mid-autumn moon? Originally, Lu Ming was still worried that he might not be able to leave the dragon race's mother planet. This was because the heavenly palace wouldn't let him go. The angels, spiritlings, and bloodlings wouldn't let him go either. The moment he left the dragon race's mother planet, he would be captured. But if I change to a new identity, how will others find out? Moreover, as long as he left his past self on the dragon clan's mother planet, others would only think that he had been cultivating there. After all, his past self controlled all kinds of divine powers. It was most suitable for him to cultivate on the dragon clan's mother planet. Then Lu Ming followed Fei Huang's method. With a thought, his body began to change. His appearance, skin, and height all underwent major changes. He became a tall and handsome young man. Compared to before, he was much fairer. He looked like a handsome young master. Moreover, his life origin aura also changed. It became a new and completely unfamiliar life origin aura. Now, even if he was placed in front of the Yale Lord of Heaven, the other party wouldn't be able to recognize him as Lu Ming. Well, not bad. Fei Huang nodded, very satisfied. Then a jade talisman appeared in her hand. Lu Ming, this is my experience in cultivating the taboo power. Study it well. Only by cultivating the taboo power can you reach the end, break through the shackles, achieve true transcendence, and reach an incredible realm. Fei Huang said. Only by cultivating the taboo power, Can one truly transcend? Can't I achieve it by cultivating other divine powers? Lu Ming's present self took the jade talisman and asked curiously. Lu Ming's past self also pricked up his ears to listen. After all, he mainly cultivated divine powers and mastered the universe myriad Tao art. Now he controlled 11 types of divine powers. Not necessarily. This time, Fei Huang's gaze was on Lu Ming's past self. Senior, please enlighten me. His past self cupped his fists. Although Lu Ming's present self had fused with the taboo power, and his talent had increased greatly, he didn't want to give up on his past self. After all, he had spent a lot of effort to cultivate the 11 types of divine powers. The essence of cultivating divine power is to constantly comprehend a certain divine power and awaken the origin divine power. The more origin divine power you awaken, the closer your divine power will be to the corresponding power of the original divine spirit. In the end, you will truly reach the power of the original divine spirit. It's the same for origin secret techniques. Even if you severed the 9th shackle, you will only be about the same as the original divine spirit. So even if you cultivate one type of divine power to the extreme, you will at most be as strong as the original divine spirit. However, there are differences in strength between the original divine spirits. Moreover, the original divine spirit hasn't transcended and hasn't reached the true peak. Fei Huang explained. Lu Ming understood that even if he cultivated one type of divine power to the extreme, he would at most reach the level of the original divine spirit. After that, there was no way to go further. His potential had reached the limit. Of course, for most people, reaching the level of the original divine spirit was like a fantasy story. It was too difficult. Not many people could cultivate one type of divine power to the peak. Most people couldn't reach it even if they spent their entire lives. So they naturally wouldn't consider the problem of potential. However, some peerless talents were different. These people naturally wouldn't be satisfied. One had to know that the original divine spirit wasn't invincible. Even if it was killed by the heavenly palace, how strong could it be? Lu Ming's past body also wasn't satisfied. If one couldn't reach the true peak by cultivating divine power, they wouldn't even be able to resist the heavenly palace. Senior, if I cultivate divine power, there should be a way to transcend, right? Fei Huang asked. There is indeed a way, and that is to control more divine power. If you cultivate multiple types of divine power to the peak, then you might be able to take the final step. So in ancient times, many outstanding geniuses created many cultivation methods that could cultivate multiple types of divine power. That's how the current ancient cultivation methods came about. However, cultivating multiple types of divine power is too difficult. Most people can't do it, so it gradually disappeared. Only the most outstanding geniuses would touch it. As for the Cosmos Myriad Tao art, it's a very famous cultivation technique in history. If you can cultivate it to the level of major mastery, you might be able to successfully transcend and take the final step. Of course, 11 kinds of divine energy isn't enough. Fei Huang explained. Chapter 3697. Through Fei Huang's explanation, Lu Ming understood many things. He also understood the origin of ancient cultivation methods. Ancient cultivation methods were originally created by the ancient people who wanted to achieve transcendence. However, the requirements for cultivation were too high, and it gradually declined. Today, only a few people cultivated them. According to Fei Huang, the universe myriad Tao art was also a kind of ancient cultivation method. Moreover, it was a top ancient cultivation method. When cultivated to the peak, one could also transcend. Now your current body is cultivating the taboo energy, while your past body can cultivate the universe myriad Tao art. It's best that you don't interfere with each other. Alright, you can comprehend the taboo energy now. If you have any questions, you can come and ask me, Fei Huang said. Lu Ming, if you have any questions about your cultivation, you can also come and ask me, Ao Qian said to Lu Ming's past body. After saying that, Ao Qian and Fei Huang left. The two Lu Ming glanced at each other. Now Lu Ming's 11 types of divine power were in his past body. The primordial god blood was also in his past body. Now he only had the taboo energy. Old John go over. The past body transmitted a message to the battle art. Then the past body's forehead lit up. The measure art appeared and flew to the present body. It rushed into the forehead of Lu Ming's present body and disappeared. 2 origin ancient characters, the battle character formula, followed the present body. After all, if the present body planned to go out in the future, it would be best to have the battle art by his side. As for the measure art, it would temporarily follow the past body. After all, the past body needed the measure art to cultivate various types of divine power. After the distribution was done, the past body flashed and left to find a place to comprehend various types of divine power. Lu Ming's present body sat cross-legged. He took out the jade talisman Fei Huang gave him, and began to read it. 1 month later. Wonderful, truly wonderful. Lu Ming sighed. Cultivating the taboo energy was completely different from cultivating divine power. There was no need to condense a star core in the dantian, and the taboo energy was not scattered in the meridians. There was no need to absorb divine power or energy to transform it. The cultivation of taboo energy was mainly to develop one's own potential. The taboo energy dispersed into countless strands and dispersed into every cell in Lu Ming's body. How many cells are there in the human body? 40 to 60 trillion. Lu Ming, on the other hand, had a maximum of 60 trillion cells. 60 trillion. What kind of number was this? It was simply an astronomical number, like the sand of the Ganges. Each of his cells contained traces of taboo power. When cultivating the taboo power, one also needed to absorb energy. It was different from the cultivation of divine power. The energy would be absorbed by every cell. Just like before, when Lu Ming absorbed the divine medicine, the energy of the divine medicine was absorbed by his cells. However, absorbing this energy could not directly increase Lu Ming's cultivation. It could only increase his potential. The more energy it absorbed, the greater its potential would be. If he wanted to improve his cultivation, he had to constantly develop his own potential. Only in the process of developing his potential could he improve his cultivation. In addition, Lu Ming found that his current body did not have a soul. This was because his soul, like the taboo energy, had been dispersed into countless strands, fused with the taboo energy, and dispersed into every cell. According to the records on the jade talisman, because every cell contained a soul, even if Lu Ming's body was smashed to pieces, as long as one of his cells was still alive, he would not die and could come back to life. Heaven-defying, truly heaven-defying. This was simply equivalent to an immortal body. After cultivating to the divine realm, the recovery ability of the physical body was already very amazing. Even if it was smashed to pieces, it could still recover as long as the soul was not destroyed. However, as long as the soul was destroyed, it would be dead. But now Lu Ming's soul was distributed in every cell. Without the weakness of the soul, as long as one of his cells was still alive, he could come back to life. It was too heaven-defying. However, there was something even more heaven-defying. The taboo energy did not have the so-called secret arts of the origin. However, the jade talisman given by Fei Huang recorded a heaven-defying method. That was to cultivate ordinary secret arts. Every secret art, as long as one cultivated it, would be able to form a secret art rune that would fly into a cell. The soul in that cell would be able to comprehend it on its own. As time passed, that secret art's comprehension would become deeper and deeper. Every cell could fuse with a different secret art. In other words, he could fuse with 60 trillion secret arts. 60 trillion secret arts. Lu Ming was dumbfounded. Even if he collected all the secret arts in the entire primitive universe, there wouldn't be so many of them. If his body had fused with thousands, tens of thousands, or even hundreds of thousands of secret arts, once they erupted, how terrifying would that be? No secret arts of the origin could compare to it. No wonder it was called taboo energy. This was truly a taboo, a heaven-defying existence. Once Lu Ming had some accomplishments, his combat strength would far surpass his previous strength. This was the true terror of taboo energy. Start cultivating. Lu Ming took a deep breath and began cultivating according to a technique recorded on the jade talisman. Hu, Lu Ming waved his fists, and the sky rumbled as they danced in a strange trajectory. Crack. Rustle. Rustle. Lu Ming felt that the bones, muscles, blood, and even every cell in his body were vibrating in a strange way. Then a strange power seeped out from every cell. This power spread throughout his body, filling Lu Ming with strength. Lu Ming entered a state of selflessness and constantly cultivated. In the process of cultivating, the potential in his body was slowly being developed. This cultivation lasted for 7 days. 7 days later, Lu Ming stopped cultivating. Lu Ming let out a long breath and carefully sensed his body. He felt that the power in his body seemed to have strengthened a little compared to before. As long as I keep cultivating according to this method, I can continuously develop my potential and increase my cultivation. My current cultivation is equivalent to 3rd-level Divine Lord. Lu Ming judged. The cultivation of taboo energy did not have a specific division of realms. Lu Ming only judged based on experience. Of course, the strength of his combat strength was far beyond 3rd-level Divine Lord. But how do I cultivate a secret art? How do I turn it into a secret art rune? Lu Ming frowned, completely unable to make sense of it. In the end, Lu Ming could only go find Fei Huang and ask her for guidance. Taboo energy is very necessary to cultivate a secret art at the beginning. This is a kind of accumulation that should be able to increase one's combat strength. But in the later stages, one must carve out one's own path. Fei Huang said, "Carve out one's own path." Lu Ming was puzzled and continued to ask. That's right. For every taboo to reach an extremely high realm, in the later stages, one needs to carve out one's own path. Just like me, the path I'm walking now is a devil. Fei Huang said. Chapter 3698. Lu Ming recalled how Fei Huang's body was covered in demonic light during the previous battle. Logically speaking, Fei Huang was also a taboo. There were countless secret techniques in her body, and she should be able to use many secret techniques. However, what she used was the demonic path. In other words, Fei Huang had already walked her own path. In the beginning, I fused different secret techniques in my cells. These secret techniques can serve as a reference for you in the future, allowing you to better walk your own path. In the beginning, I also fused countless secret techniques in my cells. However, after successfully walking my own path, I forgot all those secret techniques. Fei Huang said. Forgot? Lu Ming was dumbfounded. Originally, he had a little bit of thought. He wanted Fei Huang to teach him the ordinary secret techniques she had mastered. That way, he would have countless secret techniques and could cultivate them to his heart's content. He didn't expect Fei Huang to actually forget all the secret techniques from the past. Yes, if you want to walk your own path, you have to forget all the secret techniques you cultivated in the past. However, your own path is the true strongest path. No matter how many secret techniques there are, they can't compare to it. Just like that father-in-law of yours. He also walked his own path. He walked the path of the sword. Fei Huang said. Father-in-law. Lu Ming rubbed his nose. He knew that Fei Huang was talking about Xian Yanqing's father in his previous life. Alright, let's not talk too much. I'll teach you the cultivation method of secret technique runes, Fei Huang said. Then, she passed the cultivation method of secret technique runes to Lu Ming. After Lu Ming received it, he immediately rushed back to study it. According to Fei Huang, every secret technique only needed to be cultivated to the beginner level. There was no need to cultivate it to a very profound level. The first technique that Lu Ming cultivated was the Divine Dragon Aspect Art. Lu Ming had already cultivated the Divine Dragon Aspect Art to the point of perfection. Therefore, Lu Ming didn't spend much effort to condense a rune for the Divine Dragon Aspect Art. With a thought, this rune flew into a cell in Lu Ming's right hand. In the future, the soul in that cell would naturally constantly study it. Heaven-defying, truly heaven-defying. This kind of method had already exceeded Lu Ming's imagination. In the past, he also couldn't imagine that there was such a method. It was simply mysterious and unfathomable, inexplicable. Boom! Lu Ming threw a punch. A cell in his palm glowed, and a 9-clawed dragon rushed out of his fist. Marvelous! If I were to fuse several hundred secret techniques into my palm, Wouldn't that mean several hundred secret techniques would be unleashed with a single punch? Although they would all be ordinary secret techniques, their power would still be extremely shocking. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. Then he continued to experiment. After a few moves, Lu Ming's control became even better. When he threw a punch, the nine-clawed dragon didn't fly out. However, this punch also contained the power of the mystical dragon aspect art. Secret technique. Concealment. Lu Ming is even happier. This way he can keep a low profile. After all, if he were to use several hundred or even thousands of secret techniques in one move, it would be too ostentatious. It wouldn't be difficult for insightful people to guess that he has a taboo physique. However, although the secret technique was concealed, its power was equally powerful. This way, it would be more convenient to use it, and others wouldn't be able to see it. Let's try something else. Then Lu Ming began to practice other secret techniques. Ice shackles. Lu Ming has been neglected for a long time. With Lu Ming's current strength, the ice shackles are no longer useful. However, Lu Ming can practice 60 trillion secret techniques. Who cares what kind of secret technique it is, I'll practice it first. Soon, the ice shackles also turned into a rune and flew into a cell in his left hand. In a while, Lu Ming cultivated several secret techniques that he used to practice, such as the Heavenly Demon Golden Body and the Yin-Yang God Eye, into secret technique runes. The rune secret technique of the Heavenly Demon Golden Body was integrated into a cell in Lu Ming's spine, and the rune secret technique of the Yin-Yang God Eye was integrated into a cell in Lu Ming's eye. These secret techniques were mastered by Lu Ming in the past, so his cultivation speed was the fastest. After practicing these, Lu Ming began to practice other ordinary secret techniques. Over the years, Lu Ming had killed countless opponents and collected a total of 103 types of ordinary secret skills. However, in the past he put all his thoughts on the secret techniques of origin. He didn't practice these secret techniques at all. After all, the secret techniques of origin had great potential and were much more powerful than these ordinary secret techniques. They had been collected in a storage ring and were not touched. Now he could take them out to practice. Lu Ming took out a secret technique called the Starquake Fist and began to comprehend it. Practicing a secret technique was naturally not that easy, but as long as one was at the entry level, it was not difficult. Moreover, when one's cultivation was high, one's horizons were high, and it was relatively easier to practice. 3 days later, Lu Ming cultivated this secret technique to the entry level. It turned into a secret technique rune and integrated into a cell in Lu Ming's palm. Then he took out a finger technique secret technique, cultivated it into a secret technique rune, and integrated it into the cell in his finger. Just like this, Lu Ming used more than a year's time to cultivate all 103 secret techniques into secret technique runes, and integrated them into his cell. Let's go and test the power. Lu Ming revealed a look of anticipation. Boom, boom, boom. Two figures were in an intense confrontation. Their figures flashed and energy filled the sky. These two figures were Lu Ming's past body and present body. The past body stimulated the power of the primordial divine blood, and held the tyrant god spear in his hand. The other 10 secret techniques of origin also appeared. Without the restriction of the taboo power, the cultivation of the past body finally skyrocketed. It had already reached the peak of the 4th level Divine Lord realm, and was not far from the 5th level Divine Lord realm. Ding-ling-ling, the heavenly evil bell vibrated, and the soul attack technique surged toward the present body. However, it was ineffective against the present body. After all, the cells in his body were all souls. The soul attack could only attack a part of it. Boom. Now all the cells in his body were vibrating, and a powerful force burst out. With a punch, he broke through the attack of the heavenly evil bell, as well as the light of the sun and moon of the moon, and collided with the tyrant god spear. With a violent explosion, the tyrant god spear shook violently. The past body also shook violently and was forced to retreat. Amazing! The power of the taboo power is really amazing. The past body revealed a look of shock and then ecstasy. After all, both the present body and the past body were Lu Ming. Lu Ming would be happy no matter which one was stronger. It's my turn. The present body shouted and his body glowed. Then hundreds of secret techniques rushed out and rushed toward the past body. Mysterious sky shield, sky-piercing sword. The past body shouted, and the 11 secret techniques erupted with amazing power. The power after cutting off the lock was completely stimulated. The two Lu Mings were engaged in an intense battle. However, the taboo power was really amazing. Although the present body's cultivation was only at the 3rd level Divine Lord realm, the past body was at a disadvantage. Chapter 3699. The two Lu Ming exchanged more than 100 moves, and in the end, the past body was defeated. After all, the past body had lost the battle formula, and its combat strength had weakened. After the battle ended, the two Lu Ming left respectively, carefully comprehending the gains from the battle. 1 year later. How should I leave? Lu Ming whispered. He planned to leave the Dragon Clan's mother planet and see if he could find the autumn moon. After all, the effect of cultivating the forbidden power on the Dragon Clan's mother planet was not as great as cultivating divine power. Although the cultivation of the forbidden power also required various kinds of energy, it only stored the energy in each cell to enhance one's potential. If one wanted to improve their cultivation, they still needed to constantly cultivate and develop their potential. Therefore, whether or not he was on the Dragon Clan's mother planet did not make much of a difference to his current body. There was also one more thing: developing one's potential required pressure and a big battle. Only under pressure, in a big battle, in a life and death situation could his potential be quickly developed. On the Dragon Clan's mother planet he lacked such conditions, so his progress was very slow. Now his cultivation was still equivalent to the 3rd level Divine Lord realm, and his past body was about to break through to the 5th level Divine Lord realm. Moreover, his past body had cultivated several other types of divine power. Only by controlling more divine power could he go further on this path in the future, and it was possible for him to transcend. But Lu Ming was a little worried. How should he get out? Of course, he could fly out directly, but outside the Dragon Clan's mother planet, there were definitely powerhouses from the various races of the primitive universe guarding it. If he flew out rashly, he would probably be suspected. You are worried about getting out. Fei Huang walked over and heard Lu Ming's muttering. Senior, do you have a good plan? Lu Ming asked. Of course. The one who answered Lu Ming's question was not Fei Huang, but Ao Qian. Ao Qian quietly appeared beside Lu Ming. There are secret passages on the mother planet. Even the Heavenly Palace doesn't know about it. You can leave quietly through that secret passage, no one will find out. Ao Qian said. That's great. Lu Ming was overjoyed. Then he asked, Senior, this junior would like to ask, how can I approach the Heavenly Palace now? Are you going to find your little lover? Ao Qian smiled. At the side, the corners of Fei Huang's mouth curled up slightly as she said in her heart. This fellow is the same as his father-in-law. He's also a sentimental person. Cough cough. Lu Ming coughed awkwardly. Even with his old face, he couldn't help but blush slightly when he mentioned this in front of Xian Yanqing's master. There is only one way to approach the Heavenly Palace, and that is to become a heavenly soldier of the Heavenly Palace. Ao Qian said. Heavenly soldiers. Lu Ming was puzzled. He knew too little about the Heavenly Palace. He only knew that there were many heavenly palaces, but he didn't know exactly how many there were. He also didn't know what it was called. He only knew that it was a dreamy heavenly palace. There are a total of 5 heavenly palaces in the world. They are the Dreamy Heavenly Palace, Ziwei Heavenly Palace, Shunji Heavenly Palace, and Hongmeng Heavenly Palace. These 4 heavenly palaces guard the 4 directions of the primitive universe. Ao Qian said. Isn't there the last heavenly palace? Lu Ming asked curiously. Weren't there 5 heavenly palaces? Ao Qian only said 4. The 5th heavenly palace is very mysterious. Ao Qian shook his head as if he didn't want to say more. Fei Huang didn't say anything either. The ruler of the heavenly palace is the heavenly human race. This race is also very mysterious. They aren't listed on the primitive universe's 10,000 races list, but they are extremely powerful. However, the heavenly human race doesn't have many people, so they can't control the entire primitive universe. Sometimes they will recruit some people, such as the top geniuses of various races, to become heavenly soldiers. Only by becoming a heavenly soldier can they get close to the heavenly palace. You have a forbidden body now. Even if you enter the heavenly palace, the people in the heavenly palace won't recognize you, unless you meet an unimaginable existence. However, the chances of that happening aren't high, so there's no need to worry. Ao Qian said. How can I become a heavenly soldier? Lu Ming asked again. The heavenly palace will recruit a group of people from the primitive universe every once in a while. The time and number are not fixed. You can only wait. Ao Qian said. Thank you, Senior. Lu Ming thanked Ao Qian. Since that was the case, he could only leave the dragon race's mother planet and travel in the primitive universe. At the same time, he could ask around for information. If the heavenly palace recruited people, he would pretend to be a heavenly soldier and ask around about the mid-autumn moon. Senior, where is that passage? Can you send me out? Lu Ming asked. No hurry. Let me give you something first. Ao Qian smiled and then waved his hand. A set of array plates flew out. It was a set of 36 array plates. Many years ago, I asked a space-time spirit mouse to secretly refine this set of array disks. Once activated, it can directly open a wormhole that leads directly to the Dragon Clan's mother planet. Take it with you, Ao Qian said. This, Lu Ming was shocked. He didn't expect such a treasure to exist. Once activated, it could open a wormhole to return to the dragon race's mother planet. Such a function was really amazing. Senior, this treasure is too precious. Lu Ming said. He was a little embarrassed to accept it. Don't be embarrassed. I have a request for giving you this set of array plates. The divine dragon race was at its peak, and there were divine dragons all over the universe. But now, these scattered divine dragons are miserable. They have become mounts or battle beasts, and even worse, they have become food for other races. So I want to ask for your help. Once you find a divine dragon, you can send them back to the dragon race's mother planet. This way, the divine dragon race's power will be more concentrated, and they will have more power in the future. Ao Qian sighed. Senior, don't worry. As long as I meet the divine dragon race, I will do my best to send them back to the dragon race's mother planet. Lu Ming said with a firm gaze. Okay, I believe you. Ao Qian nodded in satisfaction and said, but this set of array plates will take some time to activate. If you encounter danger or are in a battle, remember not to activate it. You can only rely on it to escape if you have enough time. Junior understands. Lu Ming nodded and kept the array plates. Let's go. Then, Ao Qian waved his hand and a force enveloped Lu Ming. The next moment, they arrived at another place on the dragon race's mother planet. Ao Qian stretched out his hand and pressed in the air. The void immediately fluctuated and a passage appeared. Let's go. Ao Qian said. Senior, goodbye. Lu Ming cupped his fists. Cultivate well. I look forward to the day when you grow up and suppress the universe. Ao Qian smiled, full of anticipation. Lu Ming nodded solemnly, then took a step forward and rushed into the passage, disappearing. I hope you can grow up. In the long river of time, the path of the forbidden physique has been fraught with disasters. Many have fallen. Ao Qian said softly. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.